So hello everyone and welcome to Label for Recovery. It's very exciting for us today. We have a brand new interview and we're going to be talking about how we can possibly change the community aspects to not only mental health, but specifically recovery. So I'd like to welcome my guest and please introduce yourself and let us know how you're connected to the recovery community.
Yes, thanks for having me as part of your program. My name is Tom Ross. I'm the Bountiful City Police Chief. I've been the chief now for 14 and a half years, a law enforcement officer in Bountiful for 32 and a half. And I'm also the president of the Utah Chiefs of Police Association. So I've been involved in a lot of these conversations. I spent 4 years as president, was past president last year. I'm back in for 1 year. And these are conversations and discussions that I've been able to learn a lot from and maybe be educated on what the treatment needs are and the needs of individuals, but also share a law enforcement perspective. And then last, I serve as the board chair of Davis Behavioral Health. And I've been involved on that board for about 6 years now. So I've been able to see that side of substance use and mental health and addiction. And so it's helped in a lot of the decisions that we've made as the Chiefs of Police Association in trying to tie law enforcement response to the needs of our communities.
Cool. Well, great. Well, I'm very thankful for you to take the time to speak with us today. So can you tell me, how do you feel that attitudes have changed to recovery in the past few years?
I think that one area of when you're looking at opioid addiction, and it didn't start out this way, but I think over time it's come around to, I think people saw those that got involved in substance use or abuse as decisions they made that were poor decisions that they're somehow responsible for, even though they may wish they could change it now, they could have at some point in their life. And now we've realized over time that so many people that become addicted do it very innocently. So whether it's through surgeries and pain meds that ultimately lead to other types of substance abuse or use because of an addiction, whether it's mental health issues that certainly can drive people towards addiction and trying to escape maybe or get away from the things that are impacting them every day. Suicide, so many of these things. Substance use is, I think we're seeing it more as a disease, which we should have seen it that way all along. And because of that, we're looking for better ways to treat and maybe not criminalize the same level as we were doing even a few years ago, 10, 15 years ago. I've noticed a big shift in how law enforcement is starting to look at drug addiction and substance use.
For sure, great. And I was also just wondering if you have any maybe success stories from your own perspective that you've maybe been involved with, either personally or peripherally, on how you've been able to positively influence somebody in recovery, or maybe help them on the road.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're going to talk maybe in a few minutes or a little bit about a program that I've been involved in Davis County, but there was a specific individual in a situation that I've been involved in for several years now, probably 5, 6+ years. Her parents are very good friends of mine, and she's a mother with children that have mostly been raised by their grandparents. And she became addicted to drugs at a young age, and they brought her in to me to see me because, as so many, they were hitting a wall. She'd been in treatment before. She'd been in programs and had come out of a program not too long before this meeting I had with her. And I think you want to believe that they're whole, they're healthy, they're taken care of, and then they slip. And because this was just another time again, and of course, that involves sometimes taking advantage of families and maybe money and certainly childcare here. And they were frustrated, and they brought her in to see me one evening. And since that time, she and I have communicated fairly regularly, probably not monthly, even always monthly, certainly not just weekly. But when she's struggling or having a tough time, she would reach out to me by email or text. She'd reach out to let me know how she's doing. I would reach out to her at times when I hadn't heard things. And what I found in that, which played a role in this program that I was able to help bring about in Davis County, is when a law enforcement officer personally connects with someone who is in fear of what law enforcement means. So she's been arrested before. She certainly doesn't want to have that negative side of her life. But to talk to a police officer in times of need and in times of just letting me know that things are going well, I think that's pretty powerful. And I never really saw that to that kind of level. And here we are 6 years or so later. She loves this program, and she loves the fact that she had a role in me even thinking about how law enforcement needed to evolve. And she's great. She's healthy. She's holding down jobs. She's taking care of her kids. Always worried about sliding back again. And it really opened my eyes to that this is not a one and done or two or three and done, that in many cases it's over and over and over until it just happens to be right this time.
Oh, for sure. I'm certainly a product of, keep trying and trying and trying. It's the old adage, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And a lot of people don't get those additional chances. And it's very important for people like yourself to be a piece of everybody's recovery, and to support them in some ways. And a lot of people that are out there in the community doing things like this will never know how important they are specifically to maybe somebody's story, but everyone's there, and it's important to always be open to anybody that needs help. So moving on to that, because I was always wondering how can we help communicate with the youth of today about the dangers and difficulties that substances can evolve into. It's difficult because, again, when you're young, the party scene, it's always, drugs and alcohol are going to be there, and how can we help educate and help the youth of today be aware, the path that could lead to?
It's a challenge. I've talked to many families over 32 years that have sometimes ended in tragic situations where death's been involved. And of course, you're asking yourself, what could we have done differently? And, what did we miss? And when it comes to substance use, especially, I think the part that I've kind of found over time is that just being straightforward and frank and kind of even blunt at times, we're all looking to say something different that means something more. And maybe I can give an example to this. I wasn't thinking about substance use at all when this happened, but that's exactly what we're talking about. And a young woman, she was probably in her mid-20s at the time, walked up to me in a store in Bountiful, and she said, "You probably don't remember me, but you responded. I was a runaway, and you responded when I was a teenager, and you said something to me that changed my life. And I always intended," this was some 10 years earlier, "I always intended on coming in and thanking you, and I just never got around to it. And I saw you in the store, and I wanted to say something." And she said, "Do you remember," she was telling me what happened as the runaway. She said, "Do you remember what you said?" And I said, "Yes." And I never said it again to anyone else after, because I was worried that she would take it out of context and use it against me or a police officer role. But what happened is she had family had a recent divorce, stepdad. He wasn't abusing her verbally or physically in any way, but she did not want him in her life. And she was running away. And I picked her up. She'd run away a few times before. I picked her up. I'm taking her back to the house. And she says, "You can pick me up and I will run away again. And you can take me home and I will run away again. And that's what I'm going to keep doing." And I pulled up in front of the house. I turned around to her and I said, "Then keep running, because you're not going to graduate high school. So keep running. And the guys that you've been hanging out with and the alcohol you're drinking, keep running, because you're going to consume more alcohol. You're going to start taking drugs, because that's exactly what this environment is going to bring you into. You're going to end up pregnant, but keep running. And you're going to end up not having a job that pays any money. You're going to struggle month to month, but keep running until someday you're so tired of running that you stop. And I just hope that you are not so far down a path of damage to family and friends and loved ones and yourself that you can't find a way back. So I left her there. I wasn't aware that she said, I never ran away again. She said, in fact, I wanted you to know I graduated high school. I went to college. I've got a degree. I have a good job. I think she has 2 children at the time, married. And you played a role in that because I just happened to say something to her that I was scared about. I was afraid that she would run away again after I said it and thought, man, that was probably not smart. And she gets picked up again, or she tells her parents, the police officer told me to run away.
Yeah.
And I never used it again with anybody, although now I wished I had. But that's an example of, I think with young kids, sometimes we have to be willing to risk a little bit, or maybe a lot. We have to be looking to say something that they haven't just heard of from everybody else. And all I did was lay out a path that a police officer sees over time. I've seen families, I've seen individuals go through this and their lives deteriorate until one day they're done. And we hope that that isn't death. And so that connected with her. And I hope I've had other conversations and said other things to individuals over my career. And I believe at times I have, but we just have to keep trying.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure you've had an amazing impact on many people's lives in a positive sense that you'll never know, but that's the wonderful thing. So, but moving on from that, so can you tell us about any of the community resources, maybe, because we all know about USARA because they're supporting this event. But if there's any community resources that you know of that somebody could maybe reach out to if they're struggling?
Yes, there's a program we started. So for those in Davis County, and we started a program last December that is what I call a true law enforcement diversion for someone with substance use or mental health problems. So if you think about, and I started it kind of for selfish reasons. I've felt for many years that law enforcement is in a position they can't win when it comes to substance use and mental health. People that are struggling don't want to see us because they're afraid we're going to arrest them. Families don't call us unless it's extreme because they're afraid we're going to arrest their loved one. And they're always struggling between, is someone going to die? Then I call the police. Or am I going to make the hole deeper for them to try to climb out of because they're going to have criminal consequences? Or we're going to take them to a hospital that's going to tack on charges and costs that they can't afford. So in looking at that and thinking about there's got to be a better place, I felt that if law enforcement could be the one extending the hand to help, no charge, not a citation issue, not a court process that somebody has to go through. And if all you have to commit to me is that you will go to a receiving center and start treatment, and you will continue in treatment until you're either cured or whatever that means, or you stay in treatment while you find a better path. And so that society isn't paying a price for maybe your criminal conduct if you're committing thefts or stealing or using drugs in the community. Then if you refuse to even try, then the criminal charges will be filed at a later date. But the benefit is that we take you off the street right now voluntarily, that you have to agree to do this. We drive you to the facility, we drop you off. We don't send a police report anywhere. We do a report, it stays in the department. And you have the best opportunity for treatment that you have probably ever had on an initial contact. You have a peer person there assigned to you. You have a mental health therapist, a substance use therapist or provider treatment person there. You have a nurse there. And I'll tell you, the 350 or so roughly that we've brought into this facility so far, it's been a game changer. Number one, they're emotional towards law enforcement. The very people they fear the most, and that goes back to the comment I was making, that to have someone in uniform be the one to help you, I think has more impact than most anyone else helping you. And they're saying, I can't believe the police officer was the one that brought me here. You're not being arrested. You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to lose your housing. You're not having to tell family or anyone. In fact, if you don't have to tell anybody anything. And the police officer drops you off and we leave within 6 minutes. I felt all along that this would be the better way to help people committing crimes, minor crimes, misdemeanor crimes, drug use crimes. And this is the model, because we don't put you in the criminal justice system. We treat you. And we do it at a time when you are most motivated. It's probably a good way, because what was law enforcement doing otherwise? We take you to jail and book you, or we take you to a hospital, or almost as bad, we leave you on the street and say, don't do this, and knowing that you're probably going to continue. It's having a phenomenal early results. People are staying in treatment. We've only had 4 walk away from this facility. That's amazing.
Yep.
They're staying in treatment 60 days later. And it's one of the best programs I've ever been involved in my 32-year career. And it wasn't, I was one voice helping bring it forward. There were others, Davis Behavioral Health. But for anyone in Davis County, if you've been struggling, mental health or drug addiction, substance use, come to this facility, because it is changing people's lives. We hope the long-term results are as positive as the short-term results are right now.
Wonderful. What's the program called?
It's Davis County Receiving Center. And we're looking right now, we're purchasing a permanent building. We've been given a building at the jail from the sheriff he leased it to us for $1. And we turned it into a receiving center. And our long-term goal, not even long-term, hopefully shorter term, is that anybody can walk into this facility anytime. But I'm telling you, I've had individuals call police officers up that took them there at one point, and they're struggling. They sense it's a mental health condition. They sense they're starting to, lose their path, and they call them up and say, hey, can you take me to that place? That's huge. And
sure.
We're driving them there. So it's a pilot program that the state is very interested in. The state's helping fund, and there's 5 other counties that are now looking to do a similar program. And that's something that I think is a game changer.
Certainly sounds like it. And then, so again, on that note about helping people, so if there was one thing that you could say to somebody that is struggling and looking to find a way out, what would that be?
I've thought a lot about that, because obviously I feel like the moment has to kind of help tell me what I need to say, or probably anybody. But I will say this, that it seems to me, as I'm talking with folks that are struggling, I want them to know that although there are many things that have played in your life that you probably blame to some extent, or can legitimately blame for getting you into this spot, you're the only one that can get yourself out. No matter how you feel about family, friends, race, everything in life that's been unfair or has stamped you down or pushed you down or squashed you, the only person that can change the path is you. And the sooner that you're able to do it and wrap yourself around it, the better the chances are for, not the damage not being as severe, or maybe being able to recover, certainly, hopefully not losing your life. But you are going to have to accept at some point that you are the only one that can change it. If you look for others to fix it, or to improve it, or to even rightfully make it better, if they don't perform, you lose. And I think just having those kinds of conversations with people that are good people, that have just found themselves in the wrong place or gone down a path that I could have gone down. You could have, you talk about what you've been down. I know that could have been me. We've dealt with it in my family. I know that I could have made a different choice. I could have had a different DNA. I could have had a different upbringing. I could have had all these things, and I would be sitting in the same place that they are. And that's always been in my mind as I've talked to people from the criminal justice or law enforcement, is that could have been me, that could have been me. And I think that just allowed me to maybe speak in a different way without judgment, and hopefully get them to see that you have to take this bull by the horns and you have to be able to move it. And if I can help you do that, or this program can help you do that, wonderful. But you're going to have to be the one to decide, I'm going to do it. There's enough motivation here.
Yeah, and it's up to you to make that decision and to take the first step forward. But once you do that, there are many people out there, friends, family, community, resources that will help you keep taking the steps. Because it is a hardcore thing to do, but there's always help. So,
and I'm going to accept that you're not likely going to do it your first time or your third time or your fifth time or your seventh time. I accept that. And I think many people do now, even though we still struggle with how do we make it happen. I think there's more acceptance. So you're not alone out there, and you're not off in a space that we're all judging you, saying, why can't you just get it together? I think that when that moment is right, you seize it, and you'll be blessed, and you'll be grateful that you did it. Until then, you have to keep trying.
For sure. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been very eye-opening for myself, and I hope there's a lot of good content in there for our watchers and our listeners that can reach out and always know that you'll be there to help them along. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me as part of your program. And again, for anyone that has questions or wants to know more about what we're doing, reach out, and I'll try to steer them in the right direction or give whatever help I can. Cool. So thank you.
Happy days. Thank you.